looking ahead, plans for this quarter, and how to get more involved with the club operations itself. So feel free to raise your hand, ask questions anytime.
Real quick, how many people, is this like your first meeting here? Wow, that's a lot.
Nice, nice.
I wish I could change the presentation last time, but we'll go with it. Welcome.
All right, cool. So who are we? We're a community of students focused on blockchain based in the general LA area. The membership and leadership comprises of all types of UCLA students, both grad and undergrad. So we've been around for a few years now. We have alumni across blockchain companies in the industry, as well as some people who are in non-blockchain companies as well. Have a good foundation and also good context for kind of the earlier years with the club and also the industry. So we have some stories to tell, a lot of cool stuff to be around. So the club itself is right now comprised of the board, which is myself, Jack, David, who's the current president, Kiro, who raised his hand. So Kiro is also on the board, David, and then we have a fifth member, Zeke, who is not here right now. He has discussion, but if either of you guys have any questions, us four plus Zeke are suitable members to ask. So if you have specific inquiries, ways you want to get more involved, ping one of us, email us if you guys get our contacts. We're very active in the Discord server, so or just speak to one of us directly. Happy to help out. We have leadership roles in the club itself, so we are looking for, as a club, to expand. We want to see people who can create and pitch ideas for board approval. We are a little bit conservative in the ways we move forward, since we try to keep this as focused as possible. So we don't always do kind of everything in the blockchain space. For example, we pivot a little bit more towards the theory and DeFi side of things rather than the NFTs. But that's not to say we don't know our stuff about NFTs, nor are we opposed against supporting some initiatives. We just like to see things done at a pretty professional level. Since we do see ourselves as people who are pioneers of the space, we've been around for a bit, and we also see this club as a really good vehicle for bringing the space forward. Likewise, we have a lot of needs we have. Again, we're all, focusing on the classes and academia and student life is pretty daunting. So we have a lot of needs we have. Could especially use help with marketing, event ideas, graphic design, accounting, any of those other fields. If you have topics you feel like are kind of a complete role, definitely happy to come pitch us. We will definitely want to find ways to get people involved. Additionally, we have an industry presence built up over the better half of a decade, primarily online right now, since COVID put us on Discord for about a year and a half. But as things come back into person, we're very happily transitioning back into in-person pace. So the Discord is right now where we primarily reside. We have nearly 800 members there. It's quite active, so you guys have any questions, feel free to ping in the channel. On the club mission, so Blockchain UCLA itself was founded to advance the technology and as well as the academic community as a whole. So we are a student-led initiative, both students and faculty, undergraduate and graduate. We have opportunities for both education and research, and also community building throughout the industry, through all these events, lectures, and projects. So we exist to advance the blockchain knowledge as a whole, the stature of the university in the field, and the frontier of the field itself. And recently, we've narrowed down our offerings to focus on where the value is, and so we have 3 pillars where we primarily focus on. First is academic. We teach a blockchain course within the engineering school, so CS188 has been taught for the past 3 years. I was one of the lecturers who started the course, along with one of our former members, Andrew, who's graduated now. We're still planning to offer the course. Originally it was planned for spring, however, with some plans behind the scenes, it was moved to fall. So that'll be the current tentative offering. The course covers blockchain fundamentals, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then we usually cover flavor of the month. So we have guest speakers come in. We've had Dalia Malki, the lead researcher at Novi, last year, and we generally have some pretty cool, interesting people talk about the stuff going on in the industry. We also have these weekly lecture formats, which we did throughout fall and winter, and then we also have relationships with faculty that allow us to do research opportunities. We have the Connection Lab, which is this space ourselves. The Internet Research Initiative, which is Professor Klenrock's directive as part of the Connection Lab. and then the Algorand Center of Excellence, which I should probably update. But yeah, that's kind of our the value add for the first pillar. The second one is technical. So again, we ourselves are a inclusive club. We're not looking to only just look for people who can code, et cetera. Although a lot of the value comes from experiential learning when you kind of mess with these smart contracts or projects on your own. We try to get people involved who are both curious about the coding / technical side of things, but also experience in it and kind of bring them further. So we're beginner friendly, dev friendly, and we also like to kind of tinker with things in this space. So one of the things we also have been doing a lot is more kind of game-like things. So there was a capture the flag we've been working on this year. Hope to launch it sometime this quarter. So it'll be live prizes, et cetera, et cetera. We have some consulting and some conference opportunities, although with COVID, most of that has moved online, but we're happy again to lean back into it as the quarter continues. And then the third pillar is industry integrated. So we have a governance partnership with Andreessen Horowitz where they delegate us Uniswap and compound tokens, non-trivial amount, around 9 figures worth of votes at this market price. We vote on active compound and Uniswap proposals, which come in, for example, listing new assets or updating parameters on older assets. We also run a Twitter account, which we kind of justify and also stay in contact with the community. We also have industry speakers. So Masari was our kind of kickoff event for fall quarter. We had them come and speak. Masari is a research / I would say their primary output is research. They are a large crypto firm based in New York City. So we had the leader of Masari Hub, Marte, come to speak in the fall about opportunities in the space for people who are interested in doing research or just getting into the field of crypto trading side of things. We had Ben Zai, who runs a $1 billion fund here in Santa Monica, come speak last quarter in the winter, talking about kind of getting into crypto on the finance side of things, seeing how this field developed from when he graduated college to where it is now. And we have some industry partnerships. So we usually do around 1 or 2 of these events per quarter where we have like a cool guest speaker come and talk about things going on. We also aim to position ourselves as a SoCal crypto hub. So for people who are just kind of hear about us or just want to get involved in the area, if they're based in OC, Irvine, somewhere along that, we aim to just have some events be open invite. We also do some DeFi trading, so keeps us awake at night. Yeah. And then these are some of our alumni relations, people who have come through the club, either co-founded the club or just come through it as members, board members as well, where they currently are right now, where they have been. As you can see, some of these are pretty cool companies, pretty cool projects. I'm sure you guys have heard of them. You don't really need to get too detailed about them, but we kind of see this as an organic coming together of people who are very passionate about the space and looking to make a difference in the field. And then this year's event so far, kind of touched on it, but we also have a lot of stuff we want to do moving forward. So this was our last quarter's event. You can kind of see they were seeing the same space you guys are. And also we have some really cool stuff that Jack and Zeke will also be leading. So I won't take too much of the time, but we have some Solidity stuff coming up and some socials we want to have. So if you guys are looking into it, I'm a big fan of spring quarter. It's a great time. The weather's very nice. So could be a good time to kind of get to know people more and go from there. So, well, we'll meet Fridays 4 to 6 to give informative lectures, host speakers, have socials. They'll be announced about a week in advance. So generally we do things pretty ad hoc. Usually sometimes people push us in the general chat and we'll kind of get things together. But we do things on a kind of a rolling basis since this industry is very flexible. So we'll generally announce these things through the Discord, and then we'll have these additional dev focus meetings, which will be even more laid back and fluid because learning itself is a very integrated and intensive process. We want to make sure everyone's coming along, so we're happy to adjust our pace as people get up to speed. So yeah, and then Zeke, the first one will be tomorrow at 4:30, hosted on Discord by Zeke. And, cool.
Cool. Okay, so I modified this presentation originally to kind of accommodate the assumption that like most of you guys have already been here. So bear with me if you haven't. But I thought one thing that would be nice to do is to talk about a bunch of potential topics we could cover this quarter. Talking about kind of different things that we could potentially have for our weekly lecture, or for our kind of like dev focused meetings. To kind of go back, our weekly lecture will be what we're doing right now. We'll kind of have like a more general, non-technical presentation or speaker, whatever. And that'll be like our main lecture every week, which is this time slot 4 to 6, generally here, sometimes remote. And then the Solidity session is like more technical, more dev, more if you're trying to actually learn Solidity and program smart contracts and whatever. So some of the topics that we have potentially for this time slot are why work in crypto over Web 2, introduction to on-chain governance, which is pretty important to us because we have a lot of delegation stuff, famous hacks, kind of like big losses of funds and whatnot, how bridges work and how to use them, guide to the Ethereum merge, used to be called Ethereum 2.0, proof of stake, whatever. They keep changing the naming. More industry speakers. If you guys enjoyed having Benzai or whatever, then we can kind of organize more of that. I personally thought it was great. Rise and fall of Ohm and Ohm forks, can kind of get into like altcoins, kind of more weird things like that, talk about it. Stable coins, optimistic rollup versus ZK, kind of like the economic bull theses for Bitcoin versus ETH, kind of talking about like monetary, is crypto money or is it tech? IPFS, which is interplanetary file system, kind of have decentralized storage and things like that. And then kind of current events in industry. In the past, we've talked about kind of like something that happened like that week or whatever. Obviously the industry moves so fast. It's kind of exciting sometimes to talk about whatever's going on or whatever drama is happening that week. So I kind of wanted to propose to you guys kind of which ones of these topics you'd like to see. Yeah, I'll let you think when I'll talk about the Solidity session once, I guess. There we have the Ethernet CTF. A few weeks ago, I hosted the first one. We kind of went through a level of Ethernet, which is a capture the flag website, contract, I don't know, where it kind of it shows you like a smart contract and it has a bug in it, and your goal is to go and exploit that bug and like steal the funds from it, which is fun because you learn a lot about security, you learn a lot about kind of like programming choices, and it just makes you a better developer. We're also working on an in-house capture the flag. Jason briefly mentioned that, and we're going to, you mentioned some like actual stuff at stake. Could be really cool. More details on that later. Specific Solidity topics, we could talk about like specific things like errors, call functions, whatever. We could talk about the EVM, could talk about oracles. We could go or do the whole process on launching an NFT series. Hard hat, Foundry, and then like we could actually go and build things ourselves. So back to my previous question, of these things, what would you like to see?
Solidity or weekly crypto?
Either or.
I'm definitely interested in the bull thesis for Bitcoin and Ethereum. I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay,
And guide to the Ethereum merge.
good one. Who else? Just kind of like, kind of want to get a general idea of where your heads are at, or what kind of things you're interested in, how we should be using this time for you.
And the stable coins.
All right.
I also second the guide to the Ethereum merge.
Okay.
Motivator, so I'm kind of interested in the bull thesis as well.
Okay. Interesting.
Well, I'm actually not much into the coding side, so I'm very curious about how we can talk more about bigger concepts like the bull thesis of Bitcoin versus Ethereum, functionality of crypto, because as you mentioned, there's a lot more to crypto.
Okay.
Just personally, I'm very interested in it.
Cool. How many of the people in the room like are trying to learn Solidity or already do or want to be more on the dev side? Okay. Oh, damn. Sweet. What about you guys? Anything over on the right side that you're interested in? Yeah.
I think right now it's kind of at a point where there's like a little bit of a learning curve to it where you have to have some prior knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe finding a way to catch people up so that they can participate without having like prior knowledge, if that's even physically possible.
Yeah, that's a good one. I point to crypto zombies a lot. I almost consider that kind of the baseline to getting through in order to kind of access the rest of it. So that's a good place to start, but we could kind of, if depending on demand, we could do like a walkthrough of certain crypto zombies sections or baseline like Solidity topics. That could be kind of cool. Anything else? No.
So on to like the research and scratch one.
Okay.
Like instead of that, we could do like anything down.
Okay. Yeah, last quarter there was some talk of potentially having like a DAO project, kind of whatever. Talk about DAO structure, DAO whatever. DAOs, I don't know. I think personally from the board we got a little disinterested in it, and then it kind of fell off. But if that's something that you guys would still be interested in, that's definitely something we can still do. Anything else? Yeah. Which one? For Terra. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay. All right, if I move on then. Thank you for the feedback. And if there's at any point, like, please, like, the Discord's like a open space to talk about all this. This is a very, in blockchain fashion, decentralized club. Like, it's a very peer-to-peer, and your input is just as important as anyone else's. Okay, current happenings in the industry. Originally, this was, or last quarter, this was kind of like a what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum like guide, which I thought wouldn't be that helpful because I assumed a lot of you guys have, now we're in the spring, it's probably past that. How many guys are like complete beginners where that would still be useful? Like, what is Bitcoin? How does that work? What are smart contracts? Okay. All right. So maybe at some point.
I wouldn't mind a refresher just because I feel everyone comes at this from a different frame of reference. That's what I find interesting.
Sure.
Compiling like a good.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we still have the ones from winter. We could go back maybe at the end of end of this presentation, loop back maybe if we still have time.
Yeah.
Why? We'll go back and do the winter ones if we have time at the end. Okay, but instead I was just kind of like, there's a lot of stuff that's happened in the last couple weeks, and I thought it might be interesting to talk about those things, more entertaining kind of catch up. The last month has been very green. You can see kind of on this graph, we have the blue line is Bitcoin price in dollars, and then the red line is Bitcoin strength relative to ETH. You can see that Bitcoin's up like 15% in the last 2 weeks, which is pretty nutty, and ETH's up like 25%, which means like it's been growing faster than Bitcoin, which is interesting because there's been a lot of like Bitcoin buy pressure, which is nice for us because that means there's kind of more interest in our industry and there's kind of more buzz going on. You could attribute that to kind of Terra you mentioned is buying, quote, $10 billion worth of Bitcoin, which is kind of nutty, and a lot of people have been anticipating that and kind of like whatever. I mentioned down there, it's like a lot of people are speculating whether or not he's actually even buying it. Is this all just psyops? Is this just like some weird brain game, and is this even happening? But between either that and like tech stocks rallying, we were seeing kind of like a big upward movement in the market, so that's kind of fun. He's just slamming 8-figure market buys. Do Kwon, who's kind of like the leader of Terra, made this like $11 million bet. Or at first it was a $1 million bet against this guy, Algod. And then like he was like talking about like, oh, Terra's gonna go to zero, it's a Ponzi. And then like Do himself like took the other side of the bet, which is probably like illegal in most cases, but but it's crypto, so whatever. And then the second guy was like realized that essentially this other whale just decided he could like arb Do's huge ego and like made a second $10 million bet. So now there's just like a wallet with like $22 million on it, like betting on whether or not Luna's going to be over another $88, which is kind of funny. I used to really hate Do Kwon, but he's been kind of fun recently, so I kind of like him now. It was just the other day, there was a new record hack for DeFi. 173,600 Ether was drained from the Ronin bridge, which is like, I don't know if you guys know Axie Infinity, but it's like some game where you like train these like blob things, and it's really big for some reason. I'm not familiar with it personally, but the previous record was the Poly Network had like $600 million stolen from it in some big hack. And just the other day, this bridge got hacked for like $624 million, which is ridiculous. Essentially, the bridge was maintained by these like 9 nodes, and 4 of them were ran by like one firm, and all you needed was like 5 out of 9 consensus to like do anything. So like 4 of the 9 got compromised to the one company, and then there was like this other decentralized one. Someone was able to steal like $624 million, which is pretty crazy. Apecoin, again, we don't really talk about NFTs that much, but this is significant because a lot of people are interested in NFTs, and Bored Ape Yacht Club released this coin that was like, they just gave everyone who held their NFT like a crap ton of these, and they were all like everyone's airdrop was like 130K, which is like, why didn't you just buy the monkeys? It's criticized being a values governance token, but like it's kind of this new precedent for NFTs because now everyone can do this and just give people free money if they think the project's important. This is interesting. There's also a new Netflix documentary on Quadriga. This happened like a few years back. The biggest like Bitcoin exchange in Canada like closes its doors mysteriously. Everyone's accounts just got like rugged, and then the like founder died. And then like they looked into it and it found out that like the founder might not have actually died, and it's this huge conspiracy where it's like, what actually happened to him? Did he like fake his death? Did someone kill him? And then just the other day, his like co-founder, which the two of them were kind of like partners in crime, like Ponzi scheme guys, like found out that he's just been hanging out in DeFi for like the longest time, and was like helping run Wonderland. The treasury manager of Wonderland was like heavily involved with this massive Ponzi scheme. But you should watch this documentary. It's pretty fun. I watch it. It's decent. I give it like a 7 out of 10. Club resources. Maybe Jason can talk about this part.
Oh yeah, sure. So we have some past education series which are under the public drive folder. So there's a folder with the education decks if you like kind of browsing through PDFs. We also have some resources from CS188. So those decks are in that channel. Although now, if you guys probably want to have a specific topic, just ping me probably, because I made the decks, and I can send you something if you have a specific topic that was covered in the syllabus for CS188. Otherwise, we also have some. I wanted to think about this one thing. We have a YouTube channel that puts all the meetings now. So there's a past presentations channel in the Discord that has just the video format if you prefer kind of like just listening through and seeing kind of things how things go on like a talking pace. We have research opportunities, so we have relationships with professors across the CS department. If you have a specific kind of interest in research, this is a really good way to get started since blockchain itself is a new field. And then what greater opportunity than to teach a professor something than the other way around. We also have the Connection Lab and then a research initiative, which I mentioned is Professor Kleinrock's thing, and the Algorand thing, which, yeah. So yeah, that's some resources. What should you care about us? We are so you can familiarize yourself with an important and disruptive area of technology, build some great connections with professionals and companies, not just blockchain companies, but people who work in the space either as researchers, corporate companies, other different organizations. You can also connect with students across the industry. So there's also blockchain clubs that have been popping up recently across really all the major universities, getting that student wave involved now, so it's becoming even stronger. And also getting experience in all these applications, which itself is very cool since the industry right now is still quite scattered, it's still quite early, and as a result, there's not really these mature kind of progression, timelines that exist in most other fields. For example, in tech, you have your traditional internship into a full-time offer into a levels of whatever you get at the company. Right now in blockchain, it's still very kind of immature, just slowly starting to get mature now. So you start to see some of these things pop up like internship opportunities, but in any frontier industry, everything is very organic. You kind of just meet people and talk about things you're interested in and see what leads from there. So. Yeah, that's some motivation. And then how to get involved. Jack, do you want to?
Sure.
Yeah.
This actually is mostly just like resources and links to them. I'll post these slides somewhere, probably in the Discord, so you can click through this yourself. But some resources on how Bitcoin works, how ETH works, the yellow papers, if you're more technical, kind of want to read that. Link Solidity, I already talked about crypto zombies. It's often considered kind of like the baseline for becoming like a Solidity dev. And then most importantly, everything's happening in our Discord. It's very, direct talking to each other. This is a QR code to join it. And so if you're not already in, which I assume most of you are because that's where we announce this, but if you're not for some reason, scan this. And then, yeah, just like let us know what your goals are. Like tell us what you're trying to do in the space and we can give you great advice. This we have, 700, 800, whatever members that have all kind of been in the space for a long time. And it's one of the best resources I've seen on just kind of like general advice and like help at navigating the space. So feel free to interact. And this is kind of our main base of operations ever since everything's been primarily online. We'll be announcing our presentations there, our lectures, kind of organizing everything through there. So that is a must for this club. That is the end of this presentation. So if you guys have questions about this one specifically, I guess we can talk about it. And then afterwards, we'll talk about kind of ETH and Bitcoin basics. Yeah. Any questions about kind of like the club or suggestions for this quarter, things to do, questions on things functioning?
We'll have a few minutes to talk right after.
Yeah.
Do you want to cover like maybe like half presentation? Or
Sure.
of course you want to.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Whilst you're changing the stuff, what's the interest like in like governance? Is there anyone? Because we have a lot of delegation from Uniswap and Compound, and recently DYDX as well. I don't know if you guys are familiar with those at all, but we have like quite a lot of votes, and I think it would be nice to spark that up a bit. Yeah. Anyone else? Just raise your hands. You guys are interested in stuff like that. Very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty important because like we have like a ton of like votes delegated to us, so it's like probably too much. But it's like, yeah, like this club has pretty significant political power in the space, so it would be really awesome if we were more, kind of everyone in the club was more involved in, you know, making those, you know, doing things with those votes.
We could maybe like at the beginning of these kind of meetings, just like if there's a proposal up and you can
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
All right. Anything else? Okay. This is what I pulled out of the last presentation, which is kind of like a good thing to have at the beginning of the quarter. So a brief overview of everything that's going on. First is like, what is blockchain? And we have some definitions. I'll give you a second to read them so I don't have to like read them off the slide. Yeah, so the main takeaway here is the word like ledger. And a ledger is a definition at the bottom, a book or file for documenting transactions like a spreadsheet. And kind of all these definitions are kind of commonly saying, you know, we have this ledger, which is recording all these different transactions, and it's append only. No one can edit it. It's provably that every single one of these transactions actually happened, and it's this kind of distributed means of maintaining that ledger in a permanent and tamper-proof way. So what that means, you can kind of opens up like tons of features. First kind of coin to popularize blockchain was Bitcoin. It's a digital, decentralized, permissionless, peer-to-peer payment network. You know, you can send people Bitcoin, you can receive Bitcoin. Those are all the transactions that are happening on that distributed ledger, being the blockchain. And then Ethereum, which has come into the spotlight more recently, first popularized smart contracts. And smart contracts are, instead of just recording transaction on the ledger, we could actually put snippets of code. We could put, you know, programs on the blockchain, and that means that anyone can then, you know, reach into this ledger and execute code. And that opens up really interesting features because we can kind of rebuild financial structures on the blockchain. And Ethereum has become the foundation of what we call decentralized finance, or DeFi, and Web3, which I'll talk about. Yeah, and so you kind of have this dichotomy of like Bitcoin money, like Ethereum tech. That's kind of, you guys were asking about the Bitcoin versus ETH bull case, which we might have a presentation on. DeFi stands for decentralized finance. The general idea is we're rebuilding our financial infrastructure on chain. On this kind of graphic here, we have some traditional finance, or TradFi or TardFi, kind of like structures. We have commercial banking, which is, you can see like there's a bank. We have money. Sorry. We have exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, brokers, insurance firms, payments networks, asset management. And then on the right, you have those same things redone in DeFi. So instead of the New York Stock Exchange or Robinhood or whatever, you could use Uniswap, which is that like pink unicorn logo. And you know, that's a decentralized way to swap one coin for another coin. Or instead of an insurance company, you could have like Nexus Mutual, which is that like weird fidget spinner looking thing. Good God. The fidget spinner allows you to like, you know, you can insure different protocols. You can make sure that if your money's stolen, you kind of get like a refund for it. And it's interesting because these are efficient, modern, trustless, and decentralized, where you kind of cut out the middleman. You know, don't have to, ultimately everything in traditional finance, you know, roots back to just like you're writing things down on paper. Like ultimately it's all contracts, it's all checks, it's all, you know, bank slips. and that's pretty outdated. You know, like the markets are closed on weekends and overnight, and you can overdraft your Venmo account if it's a Sunday, and it's like, why are we doing this still? Like, we have technology, let's build financial primitives that are not based on these like stupid, super outdated systems that we've been using since like the 1700s. And then the trustless, you know, you don't have to trust your bank. You can do all the functions of you know, a bank or what you would be doing in the traditional finance world, but you don't have to trust anyone. You don't have anyone, you know, preying off of you. Like, you might know, like Robinhood, for example, you know, their whole business model is they like sell your transaction data and let like big quant firms like front run you, you know. You don't really, I mean, you still kind of have that in DeFi, but you don't have like the system which is actually actively preying on you. You know, you're no longer like a product, you're now a participant in these networks. And it's decentralized, which is peer-to-peer, which means, you know, if you are someone who is, if you're an individual, you can't really give someone a loan in the same way that a bank can. You know, you might be giving your friend a loan or something like that, but that's kind of sketch. In DeFi, you could have kind of like permissionless loans where you don't even have to know the person you're giving a loan to, you don't have to know their credit score or whatever, and you can still kind of have that that exchange without ever having to trust the other person to know who they are. And you don't have to be a bank in order to be giving a loan, which is very powerful because we're seeing kind of this democratization, you know, I'm not going to try, of all these things which are usually only controlled by the select few, the banks or whatever. It's pretty sweet. And, oh, and I also said, like, it's global too. You know, a lot of, you know, places don't even have access to any of these things, and through DeFi you do. Web3 is the user-owned web. We kind of divide the web as kind of post. This is like a new kind of definition, so it's not like people started calling the internet Web 1 since the beginning of the internet, but like the idea is there's kind of three evolutions of the internet. Web 1 is this kind of top picture where you have companies that are, you know, servers. They have like a server room and they're hosting some website, you know, and it's like, here's my HTML page and it has like information on it. You can go to this, you know, URL and read the information on that site. So it's like kind of like the read-only internet. And then we see Web 2, which is kind of more recent, where all of a sudden the users of these websites can like write things to the site. This is where like blogging becomes super popular. This is where social media becomes super popular. All of a sudden we have user-generated content. You know, you as the user can be like a participant in things like Uber. You know, you've got the big difference here being now you can write, so you can read and you can write. And then Web 3 is what, you know, proponents of blockchain are kind of touting as the next, you know, general evolution. And this is like an ownership layer. So, you know, read, write, and own is what they're saying. And it upgrades back under the web to be decentralized and ownable. So now this is a picture. This is a screenshot from, I think, Audius or Audible or whichever, which is like an NFT streaming, like whatever. You probably know that like streaming services like famously screw over like artists. You know, they get like a tiny fraction of a penny per stream, and most of it just goes to like Spotify. But instead, you know, you could be a owner of this protocol. You could be an owner of Audius. You can peer-to-peer give your music to someone. They can pay you directly for it. And you kind of have, you know, this native ownership and payment layer where you're not relying on some third party to like hold your stuff and receive payment for it. All that is built, you know, hard-baked into the internet itself, which is pretty sweet. So in general, Web3 is just referring to any like site or decentralized app, DApp, that hooks into Ethereum and allows you to kind of have this like ownership of the actual thing that you're using, which is pretty sweet. Questions about this or about DeFi, I guess? Yeah.
Does that mean like cookies and search history and all that, is that also owned by the person? Like, is that for you or does Google still see that?
You mean in like Web3, do you have cookies?
Yeah, so I think a better analogy here, it's a good point, right? Because the company will just track you through your browser. Now, since blockchain transactions are all public, the data is open access. So anyone can just build a data analysis company on blockchain data, which, you know, exists, right? They can just say, okay, like whose addresses are doing a lot of trades, where are people trading from? You know, you can create graphs of where the money is flowing. Whereas in Web 2, this would generally be siloed so that You know, if you want to build like a company on top of YouTube or on top of Patreon, you're unable to, because if they don't give you, you know, the data or a way to access the data in the form of like an API, there's really no way to get, you know, get access to the knowledge. So it's kind of like an opening of the barriers.
Yeah, I guess you could have like a cookies or something like that, but in general, it's more like you change the actual product model. Like, if you've heard of like Brave browser, which is this new kind of blockchain native like web browser, like they change the ad system, so you're not actually being like your data collected and then they sell you ads. It's like they have like an ad pool, and then you like pay for that. The ads like pay you, and then you pay the ads back. It's like they change a lot of times like the business models to be more like, you know, democratic and decentralized and all these things. Does that kind of answer the question? Anything else? Neither of these? Okay. Yeah, and crypto in general, you know, blockchain is a very entertaining space. I have just some random examples. The dude selling his name, yeah. On the bottom right, we have some dude who sold his name as an NFT. I was just like scrolling through random stuff one day, and I found this guy who was like, buy this NFT, and it is like the legal rights to my name. And if you own the NFT, you can just change my name to anything. And like you could just legally change his name to whatever you wanted, which is pretty nuts. Hello, my name is NFT. It's a good question. I think there was probably like he set up like a legal entity where like the naming rights of himself were owned by some legal shell that was controlled by the NFT holder. Like, I'm not sure how he did it, but it might have just been that he was just trusting that whoever that he'd change it. I don't know. I remember looking at it, had some requirements like, I will only change my name like once every 6 months max. Like, you guys can't make me like. Top left, we have a Sotheby's auction. It's a selling of a CryptoPunk, which is a popular NFT, kind of one of the OGs that first popularized like the profile picture NFT stuff. And it sold for $11 million in Sotheby's auction house, which is pretty crazy. Below that, we have Boyd Ape Yacht Club, which this is Steph Curry and the one that he owns. To the next is, or to the diagonal, you have Once Upon a Time in Shaolin, which is a one-off record produced by Wu-Tang Clan. It's an album, it's an entire album, and they only made one copy of it, and they didn't release it anywhere. And it's in this box, and they sold it in auction. And it was bought by this dude, Martin Shkreli, who's like this like famous internet villain because he bought like insulin or something and like resold it, or like scumbag. And then eventually he like got sent to jail, and this DAO, which we've mentioned kind of what DAOs are. Actually, no, I don't think we have. DAOs are like decentralized autonomous organizations. So those are kind of just like, a lot of people talk about blockchain as being just a new way to organize or coordinate, you know, in a new fashion. And so you have these, like, you could call them companies or organizations or groups or whatever, you know, that are organizing via blockchain, via Ethereum usually. And kind of having these, you know, what would usually be like a company or an investment fund or whatever. And PudgeDAO is one of these that like, they invest in NFTs and they buy stuff, and they like pooled together a bunch of money and finally like bought this album, and they're trying to figure out how to like release it, which is pretty cool. Here's Wonderland, who the guy, it was like offering like 80,000% APY, and then like it finally fell apart when like the guy from that documentary like found it. Like, there was a dude who like faked his death, and there was the other dude who like probably orchestrated it, and the dude who probably orchestrated it, it like turned out was just like leading the treasury of this project for the entire time. Tornado Cash is like a mixer. You can like launder money. Like, it's like everything on blockchain is still trackable. You can look at a list of every transaction that happened and trace like where this is coming from, where it's going, like all these things. And so people have made methods where you can, you know, if you're into cryptography, they have like cryptographically secure ways where you can dump your money into Tornado Cash, and then like years down the road pull it back out, and they'll have no way to like trace it back to you, which is kind of fun. So you'll see a lot of people who like hack stuff and then just immediately go and like dump all the ETH they stole in Tornado Cash. Then we have a picture from Decentraland. Metaverse has been in the news recently. You've got Facebook renaming themselves to Meta. kind of making a bet that like everyone will be walking around in these like VR worlds. This is a screenshot from Decentraland, which I've never tried, but is one of the biggest ones. Yep. Oh, that took the entire thing. Yeah, then I think we go back into what we already talked about. So, any question about this? It was kind of a fun intro. I don't know. Yeah.
Plans are for the fall. So the prereqs are historically CS31 and CS32, which is just intro to coding. So we just assume that you know basic coding. It covers a bit of everything, since blockchain covers a bit of everything. So networks, algorithms, game theory, all of it. But a lot of it you can learn on the fly, since we're all if you're taking CS180, you're probably interested already. So yeah, it requires some basic CS prereqs as well.
Dude, the guy from the hack just immediately dumped it on like Coinbase and Kraken and Binance. Like he didn't try to launder it at all. Like he either has like already like shady accounts, like he made like a Coinbase account that was like not know your customer and was trying to dump it through there, or like I don't know. If we're like a hack that big where it's like $600 million, like even if you use Tornado, like I don't think you're going to be able to like ever like take that money out without like the feds getting you. Like there's not really anything you can do at that point to like make 600 million appear and then explain where you got it from. So I don't know, I guess he just YOLO'd it straight onto exchanges. Not sure. He'll probably be caught if he hasn't already. If he wants to what? That would be kind of baller. He like I saw some Twitter thread where it was like, dude, what like all the things you could do, like with $600 million of capital that you're not going to be able to like take for yourself, you could just like nuke random like you could just like dump it all into some stupid, you could like buy all, I don't know, you could do something really fun with all that money. Who knows? Stay tuned. Instead he dumped it on exchanges. All right. I'll go ahead and end this, I guess. And then, is this my desktop now?
I think it's still here.
And I guess I don't really know how to, I guess I'll put this back on. Yeah, so now we still have some time to talk about kind of the club, whatever, I guess, I don't know. Talk to each other, I don't know, what now?
Yeah, cool. All right, well, that'll like, we just wrap up the presentation. You guys can stay after for any questions. You can talk to one of us. Join the Discord if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys next week, same spot. Topic yet to be decided, but yeah, I'll go from there. All right, cool. Thank you.